Welcome to another episode of Talking with WIT, Kevin and Son. My name is Kevin McLemore. I am your show host, and I am joined today with two very special people to talk about a conversation that we all need to have and to get a little understanding. This episode is brought to you by RMK Productions and the 10 United Podcast Network. Our mission is through the power of story, is to uplift your voice, inspire, share stories, experiences, and perspectives using the framework of teaching, learning, and modeling. Our purpose is very simple: hope, HOPE, helping other people every single day. Before we start, I want to share a quote by a very famous lady activist. I believe all Americans who believe in freedom, tolerance, human rights, has the responsibility to oppose bigotry, prejudice based on sexual orientation. Coretta Scott King, the wife of late civil rights activist Dr. Martin Luther King. Today's topic for me is personal. I know both of these individuals. I've known them for at least 6 years. I know them when they were babies. Because today's topic is sensitive for most, me saying the right words or the wrong words could possibly offend someone. A misunderstanding could basically cost me my show. My perspective or interpretation could have people standing outside my house protesting and demanding that I have an apology for not being sensitive towards one person or a group of others. Well, let me make this clear. This may come as a surprise to you. For those of you that are just listening to my voice, for those of you that are watching on YouTube or one of the other social media platforms, I got a secret to tell you. I am Black. I am a person. I'm not part of any group where I have to apologize for taking advantage of my privileges or to have a conversation of people that have oppressed, murdered, raped, demeaned a race of people solely based on the color of their skin and their education or sexual orientation. I want to share with you, Carl Nesbitt was the first openly gay Black NFL player to come out and made national news. I asked myself why. We all know he ain't the first one, all right? For some reason, it turned pages. The Trevor Project is an organization, and we're going to showcase them. And they have facts that support the fact that the LGBTQ plus, and I'm going to have to use my notes to make sure I don't screw that up, states that suicide rates amongst young people are at risk. The sexuality or the sexual orientation of gender identity, but rather have placed a high risk because of who they are and how they're mistreated, how they're stigmatized in our society. However, the mission statement states to end suicide amongst lesbians, gays, bisexual, transgender, Qs, or questioning young people. May I add to this narrative the impact of anti-Black racism, supremacy among groups are all bases that run in line with the Trevor Project, the retelling of the truth, the incorrect or misleading information. Wait a minute, I almost had to stop myself. I almost brought up religion. But before I go off into the deep end of the pool and talking about these prejudice and how understanding who we are and how this lines up, let me say the struggle with how we identify ourselves in our communities, our families, in the workplace, we are all branded with some kind of label or class. But who we are is not part of a class or brand. We're all human beings. And as part of the human race, the thought process and the shared stories of Miss Carina and Hailey's story, you should walk away with feeling a kind of way that your reality has changed, or maybe this will confirm your reality that you are now part of the problem that we mentioned early on the show. Well, let me welcome my guests, Miss Carina Chieffalo and Hailey Nardone. Welcome to Talking with Kevin and Son, and my co-host, that go-to guy, Ife. How you doing, everyone?
Kevin, thank you so much for having us. Very
No,
excited.
no problem. That was a very long introduction, and I wanted to say that because one, when you look at bigotry and prejudice in this country, pick a group, and they basically foreshadow or shadow each other when it comes to being discriminated and put down.
Right.
All right. So,
Absolutely.
you know, the reason why I had you on here, Carina, you and I had this conversation, and we talked about the insensitive thought process of human beings based on your choice, your life, and you've lived a great life for being as young as you are. Carina, you're currently in attendance at St. Joseph University, where you are a standout athlete on lacrosse. You also attended your high school at Villa Maria Academy, which you played varsity basketball, track, and lacrosse. You also hold a couple honors: the Andrea Thompson All Academic Athlete Award, the Eleanor Langston Award, and you're also an entrepreneur. You're part of the RMK family and the 10 United Podcast Network. You have your own podcast, and it's called That One Thing. All right. You're also part of ROTC. I did Roxy, and your dream is to enter after graduation as a second lieutenant. Carina is an active member of the LGBTQ plus community, and I hope her story will touch someone in a way that is struggling or is struggling to understand their story.
Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate that. And I'm happy to be on here today. It's going to be a great talk.
All right. And I also want to introduce our your partner, your best friend, your life story, Miss Hailey, 4 years varsity softball player in Hamilton, New Jersey. You was also part of the 2018 state championship. You continued your education at Mercy County Community College, where you made first team all region your freshman year. Hailey, you are studying to be a nurse, and please correct me if I'm wrong. You are also aspiring to go to Rutgers University next year. Hailey, you are also an active member of the LGBTQ plus community, and you hope that your story will not only put you into a safe place, but put you into a brave place, because you know that people care and understand. And if they hear your story, those that matter will share your story and do their part to make change. And I hope, listening to your story, they remove the labels and just accept you as part of humanity. So we've got a lot to talk about. We want to hear your story. So you guys pick which one. Let's talk about life as Carina and Hailey.
Absolutely.
Oh boy.
It's been a busy summer so far. I mean, we are constantly running back and forth. We live at a distance, so we've been doing a long distance relationship now for almost 2 years. But through communication, through the power of love, we've been able to, suffice to those challenges and really, overcome a lot of obstacles. Hailey has taught me things over the years, and we started dating senior year of high school. So being in the high school setting, I was not out yet. Hailey was out when we first started dating. So that gave us a little bit of some rocky bumps, which we will go into. But yeah.
All right, Hailey.
Yeah. It definitely, sometimes it's not very easy, but it's the good moments that make the bad moments worth it.
100%.
That's for sure.
And like I said, so I was not out when we first started dating. We met through a mutual friend, and I ended up saying to myself, I want to get to know more people in my area that are like me. I wasn't necessarily ready to come out, still being in a Catholic high school, still having, friends and people around me that I thought to myself might not be accepting of the culture. So when Hailey was nice enough to take that on and be patient with me through that, which sometimes you can't really find nowadays, people want to be out and open and free. And unfortunately, with the environment we're in right now, sometimes it's not the easiest for people to come out.
Yeah, it's definitely come leaps and bounds since when we first met,
Definitely.
which is very, very impressive because there's been a lot of change for the better.
Definitely.
Let me ask you this question. You brought up people like you.
Right.
I'm confused. I don't understand because I met you 6 years ago. The same way that I welcome my children in the world, you had 10 toes, you had 2 legs, you had
Absolutely.
you had ears. You carried on a great conversation. I didn't see anything different. What do you mean by people?
That's right. And you're right, Kevin. I mean, it's not necessarily, we don't want to group each other to be against regular humanity or someone different. However, there are challenges that, people in the LGBTQ plus community face that might, hinder, cisgender people in the regular day and age. And unfortunately, sometimes we do have to draw that line because of the challenges that these minorities face. You know what I mean?
Right. And you brought up minorities, and these words are going to dance all over the place because
Absolutely.
a Black man hears a person that is non-melanated, minority doesn't seem to become part of that conversation. How are you a minority?
I'm sorry, what was that, Kev?
I said, how are you a minority?
Since I want to say the 1940s, 1950s, we were being discriminated against for our sexual orientation through the AIDS crisis, through HIV, everything like that's happened. Unfortunately, it was a rolling ball that just kept getting bigger and bigger. Right now, we are grateful to be out and proud. We have very accepting communities in both our households and our friend groups, which makes us, very happy to be here. But unfortunately, there are still some views religiously, still some people looking at the AIDS crisis as something that's, affecting our group, right? So you still have a little bit of that, difference in the society.
It almost seems like for one step forward, it's 2 steps backwards.
Right.
It's
especially right now. I mean, we've been seeing so much progress since we've been growing up, and just recently in these last months, our marriage and our freedom quality is being tarnished.
it's fluctuating way too much.
It's fluctuating. Yeah, it shouldn't be going backwards. We are progressing. It's 2022,
Well, believe it or not, 2022. I mean, I know you guys watched the Who We Are project that Jeffrey Robinson created, the documentary. And for those of you guys that are listening, you got to watch it, because when you talk about progress, we were years ago at a turning point. Mm-hmm. Lincoln was, the first one that almost crossed and someone took his life. John Kennedy started to tip that, and they took both him and Martin Luther King out, and then they took his little brother out the same way. And for some reason, when you talk about the turning point, we're turning back the hands of time. Woodrow Wilson, because he wanted to bring back slavery at all costs, basically quoted a phrase and wrote it down. It says, "We have to make our nation great again." I have no idea what the hell that meant.
And Kevin, to go off of that real quick, change is very uncomfortable for people. The unknown is very uncomfortable for people. And that's why a lot of people that are maybe older per se don't want change. They don't want things to be different because that's what they know. That's what they're comfortable with, right?
But don't you think everyone wants to be loved?
Absolutely. 110%. Unfortunately, there are some people that are just like-minded to themselves and what they are comfortable with, and they project that on other people. I mean, I tell myself all the time, why worry about anybody else's,
I find it so crazy that someone would look at us or someone that I know would just look at me and be like, oh, that's Hailey. But their perspective could change so quickly when they know that I'm gay or
Right.
that I'm not not to say normal, but
Maybe
I don't
not
fall under
cisgender.
that category.
Right.
There's something different, and
It's an issue when it becomes that cisgender heterosexual individuals are the normal, the standard, right? Because really what should be normal is whoever you love,
yeah.
but it's turned into a heterosexual relationship is the normal, is the standard.
Well, let me put on the Coach Mac hat, that the mentor, the person I am, because, my sole purpose is helping other people every day, and create conversations and dialogue that we understand the reality of who you are, who you think you are. And I'm going to tell you, there's so many labels that are attached to humanity. I mean, we had a retail store where all we the designers of this. You're not different.
Right.
None of us are different.
None.
If I peel back the layers and look at, how many muscles, how many bones you have in your body. If I separate the skin to a vein, we all bleed 99.9% of the same blood. We are different. Why have we allowed a group of small-minded people to impact so many wonderful people
100%.
on this? Do we need to be separate in order to be identified as Hailey or Carina?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it really stems from the household. Correcting that knowledge right away really makes a difference for the years to come and generations to come. Right. Like what we would teach our children, what I would be taught is you love everybody. Love is love. But sometimes it's really hard to break that barrier between, what you teach your child and then what they learn elsewhere.
Let me ask both of you this. When I'm going to ask Hailey first, because you came out before Carina.
Mhm.
What was the most difficult conversation you had with someone when you were coming out? And was it a family member or was it a friend?
I think that it might have been with my family because they are the first people that I really told. It was something that was extremely new to all of us. They of course they were accepting, but it was new, and it was something that's never been explored, never been thought about. So I was definitely most nervous to talk to my grandparents, just because I know they're older, they come from a much different generation, but they were surprisingly accepting. They don't even think of it anymore. They're
Very normal.
yeah,
I've been there.
It's very, very normalized.
I was there
And
last week. We had a great time.
yeah,
It was nice.
I'm very, very glad that I have the family that I do, because I don't know I can't imagine the struggle of people that don't have that accepting family, because your family is your everything. And without them, if they didn't take it the way that they did, it would definitely be a much different situation right now. But
And what about you, Carina?
I would say the same thing. I think the family conversation hits home very hard, because when you tell your friends and anybody else, if they leave your life,
you can find different friends,
right.
You can't find different families.
Exactly. You're blood related. So it strikes a nerve if they weren't accepting of, your orientation, your sexuality. I ended up having a great conversation with my parents. There were some challenges that we had to work through, because again, I'm the only girl in my family. I have 4 other cousins that are guys. All right. I have a twin brother, and that makeup of walking my daughter down the aisle with a white dress, right? That makeup of going dress shopping, getting our nails done. Necessarily for me and how I orientate is a little more masculine. And that wasn't the game plan for the next couple of years and in the future. And that really struck a nerve, because it was almost like they were looking at something way different than I was.
I think a lot of it stems from religion too, because
Definitely.
her family is much more religious than mine. So that was a challenge that I didn't really have to overcome with my family.
Yeah.
It was more of just something new that they had to get used to, rather
Right.
than something that they were taught not to accept.
Right.
It-
And it was, again, for me, I am still working on some challenges within my Catholic faith, and just, you know, they were like, my parents were in the Catholic community, Catholic school, Catholic church. You're thought to think a certain way. And luckily we worked mostly past that. We still are working on some things, but again, you have that next obstacle to go through, right?
No, let me say this, and this is probably going to get people throwing rocks at me uh, when I leave my house or place of employment. But I will tell you, throughout the history of mankind, there have been more situations and more people screwed over by religion,
Yeah.
any other organization throughout the existence of humanity.
I completely agree.
Kevin, I
Manipulated.
still, yep, I agree. I still go to a Catholic community, or Jesuit, I should say. Been through Catholic school my whole life, and I am the first person to agree with you on that.
And the other thing is you mentioned the fact of walking down about the and you know walking down the aisle in a white dress. You know why the white dress is supposed to be right.
Purity,
Right.
I guess,
So
right?
I don't need to say it anymore. Is that we should start selling off-color dress beige.
I agree.
We're not representing the symbol that it can, but it does look good. White looks good on everyone. And the surprising thing is, and the reason why I had to open monologue the way that I did, so many of the prejudice and the biases run rampant in our society. Is anytime that we do not agree with someone of how they lived, and most of us are living better than some of the people that disagree with our choices. But you have to think about all the biracial relationships that
Mm.
years ago, it was actually against the law for even you and I to have this conversation openly.
Yeah.
Right.
Us to be able to be in the same space in public, let alone be part of a relationship where your partner looks like you, feels like you, and everything else. Um, it just saddens me that we still give so much power to ignorant people in power. And yes, if anyone's
Right.
offended by what I just said, I will tell you, I am talking directly to you.
Yeah.
Right.
Forrest
And
Gump said, stupid is as stupid does. You stupid.
Kevin, I will say that religion is a safety blanket for a lot of people, because let's say you question me about something and I could say, well, the Catholic faith says, well, the Bible says, no, love is love. Is love a sin? Love is not a sin. So why are we classifying it? And I take it this way. I have my own personal relationship with God. I don't have a personal relationship with you, because to my religion, you have original sin. And that constructs everything for me. So my relationship with God, it's just a one-way street, right? Like I don't need any other background noise. Again, I haven't been to church in a while because of it. Just the acceptance of it all. And I won't tap into religion as much, but I will say that I am disappointed, because I wouldn't be able to hold her hand without getting looks. And it has thrown me for a loop a little bit. I'm still trying to work through it, but again, like you said, it's a very touchy topic for some people.
I feel
And
like
being,
a lot of people that try to use the religion as their blanket don't really have their own thoughts. They don't
Mhm.
have their own feelings towards this topic. They're not very educated. They have one thought, and it's, my religion says that's not okay. They don't
Right.
go any deeper than that. And that's the issue. People don't try to look past that. They don't try to educate themselves, and they don't try to see the person for who they are, rather than looking at me and be like, well, she's gay, that's not okay.
Right.
yeah. I want to say this. I brought up the Trevor Project early on, and the reason why they're not a sponsor of RMK Productions or this podcast, but they are a group that allows a safe place for a conversation needing to be had if you're on the edge of the fence. Their mission is to end suicide amongst lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, or questioning young people. Their vision is a world where all LGBTQ plus young people can see a bright future for themselves. It surprises me, and then it doesn't surprise me that these groups agree. But what surprises me is that when you look at the problems of the world, there are a lot of people that are like me, a lot of people that are like you, that are just good human beings. I don't understand why we're not coming together to squash the noise of the small group of people that complicate this life instead of letting us exist.
Right.
Exactly.
100%.
Why aren't we getting together?
And why, this is another question that I have too, is we see these suicide rates going up. And when something happens like that in a community and a child, a teen, an adult is killed, it is on for like 2 weeks and then no one talks about it ever again.
Yeah.
And that's the issue that I have, is that this is not talked about enough. I actually, in lacrosse, we're doing a thing in the club I coach for, Morgan's Message, which is athletes' mental health, which is huge. But why is that happening right now? And why does there have to be so many suicides for us to do something about it?
Well,
I mean, the Trevor Project's a great thing to bring up. And, you know, I wish I knew about that when I was closeted. Right. And I wish that people know that we're here, that you're here, that people are allies to it as well, that they have people to go to, you know.
let me ask you a question. No matter
Sure.
what your race is, if you are questioning your sexuality, and in your home or your current surroundings, you cannot have this conversation. Because the other thing is, you know, we're putting these labels on younger people a lot sooner before they can even identify.
Right.
And I wish we would get rid of all the labels, period.
Right.
We're not branding or marketing a product. We got to
Yeah.
let people find out and discover who they are. I mean, there are adults that are my age and still haven't found out who they are.
Right.
What conversation and what would you share with that individual that feels they don't have any place to go and they're contemplating on, I don't want to live my life like this anymore. And they're only 14 or 15 or 12.
Kevin, this is one of the reasons why I did post on the Instagram what I did. When I came out, I made it public. And the number one reason why I did that was not for anybody to congratulate, whatever. I didn't need that. What I wanted is because I knew there was girls in my Catholic school that were closeted and that they needed to hear that somebody that was older than them, and that I'm here today and I'm here for them, and they can see a light at the end of the tunnel. So being that advocate for somebody and telling my closeted self, hey, guess what? You're going to change somebody's life one day because you are gay, because you are, you know, in a relationship with a woman. So giving them that strength, that motivation to show them that being gay is a tool, being gay is a gift, is something that I would tell them, and that there is a light at the tunnel once you meet the right people.
I think that when someone messages you or they reply to something that you posted and they say, I needed to hear this, that is one of the best things that can come out of social media. Because just recently, there's been 2 close friends of mine that were in my graduating class that have took their lives, and that is too many. And
I agree.
it was crazy because not even 2 years ago was the first person who took his life, and that took everyone by surprise. It was sad because that was when everyone started posting more of the mental health awareness stuff, and then it all fizzled out. Mm-hmm. And I personally, that has been my main source of social media. Whenever someone looks at my Instagram story, it has something to do with that. And that never stopped on my end. And just recently, again, we had another person from our graduating class that took his life. And it's an endless cycle, but it needs to become more normalized. People need to speak on this openly, at least every day. Their struggles need to become more normal, because there's so many other people that are struggling with that same thing, because 90% of the stuff that I post online is stuff that I saw and I was like, okay, I needed to see that. So there's someone else that might need to see that. It's just,
again, somebody, for example, this podcast, for example, if you're listening right now and you feel like you're trapped in a household that you can't be in, you don't have friends that are accepting any of that, know that when you get through that barrier, you will find people that are accepting. You will find people that love you. There is a light at the end of the tunnel always. I always said, if you're not happy with the ending, it's not the end.
yeah.
Right. And for me, I was in that dark hole for a long time. I struggled with a lot, even when I first came out, struggled with a lot of, mental thoughts, a lot of friendships that I did end up losing. Right. And it helped me to become stronger. But at that time, I didn't think I was going to get anywhere above where I am today. So, again, we are here. I serve as an outlet. Hailey serves as an outlet. Kevin, you have been a great outlet to me as well. But again, keeping that focus and that I will get through this is the biggest thing. And using it.
And let me say this and I'm going to add this as an outlet. And I want anyone that's listening that is struggling, when you lose a friend, guess what? You didn't lose a friend. You don't lose friends. The reason why you have 5 fingers on each hand, because that is the circle of life. If you hold up your hand that says, how many people are important to me? How many people ride and die with me? It may be your mom. It may be your dad. It may be your brother. It may be Hailey, and it may be Carina. I'm screwing up. My head's going crazy.
No
The reason
worries.
why they gave you 10 fingers is because that is your circle of friends, the
Right.
people that will ride and die with you. When you lose a new pair of shoes, you don't sit on the edge of a mountain and say, I'm going to jump because I lost my shoes. You lost your shoes. Your friends will be there no matter what. They will disagree with you and they will agree with you. They will laugh and they will cry with you. They'll eat food that you burnt because they don't want to hurt your feelings. They will stay up with you and listen to a conversation that they'd rather be watching the Eagles games or the Cleveland Brown games. Those are your friends. And that's what you will take to the end. Or in a dark place. Reach out and seek out organizations like the Trevor projects. Reach out and have a conversation with me. I can be reached at info@rmk productions org. You can reach, and I'm going to ask, how do people get in touch with both the two of you guys? And we'll talk about that. And then I want to talk about your clothing line because you're an entrepreneur. So how do people reach you, for one?
Yeah, so you can reach me through Instagram. So it's just my name, Carina, Carina, and then Chieffalo, Chieffalo. Or you can use my number. I'm happy to give out my number, 610-716-7926.
And what about you, Hailey?
My Instagram is Hailey, Hailey .Nardone, Nardone. And I'd be happy to respond to anyone's text, 619-410-9352.
All right. And I just want to say to people, we all suffer at some level of some mental health. I know I suffer from a concussion. When I get anxious, I stutter and I panic inside my head. I have minutes I can remember every single thing that I read. And the other minute, I can look at a word and I can't even pronounce the person's name. It could be my own name. And been to those dark places because when people don't want to listen, don't believe. We've got to start being better human beings. And so let's talk about when you're being a good human being, you're also adding something to life. And I love entrepreneurs, especially young people that are starting out and putting it together. Let's talk about your apparel company.
Absolutely, Kevin. So 5 Alpha, which I'm wearing right now, it's an acronym. So 5 values: ambition, leadership, perseverance, hard work, and action. And what we're basically doing is it's not so much as an apparel brand as it is a community of like-minded hustlers that want to build either their own brand, if they're into art, if they're into something that, maybe sports, anything, we take on anything. My biggest thing is that we have no labels. We are just for athletes. We're not just for women. We're not just for men. All of our clothing is unisex because I know for me, when I was younger, sometimes I wasn't allowed to buy the men's clothes. And that's what I was comfortable with. So I want to make it so that any girl or boy out there that is looking to get a more men's cut or a more women's cut, we have no labels on that. We come with quality apparel, not quantity, quality. So everything that we wear, I trust. I wear it when I work out. I wear it when I'm doing podcasts. I wear it whenever. Hailey's a big model for us. She's been doing it for a long time. We were actually just packaging some orders recently. I do everything in my basement. Great businesses start in basements. So we're just trying to build a community.
So you can get hoodies, shirts,
hoodies, shirts, hats. Now we have headbands, wristbands. I'll throw down the website too right now. It's 5 Alpha. So the number 5 Alpha, ALPHA, and then apparel.com. And you can go check out anything you want on there. We also have an Instagram. It's 5 spelled out, FIVE, and then apparel. 5 Alpha apparel. And you can go check that out as well. So.
All right. Now, you mentioned that you had a podcast.
Yes.
Another entrepreneur. Business is growing left and right.
Yes.
And I am happy to say you are part of RMK Production and the 10 United Podcast Network.
Yes.
Podcasters that range from 18 all the way to 75 as part of our family. Your podcast, that one thing, and I'll tell you what my grandmother said that one thing was after we talk about, explain to me, what's that one thing in your podcast?
Absolutely. So that title, when I was thinking about what do I want to talk about, that one thing can entail anything. What's the one thing that inspires you? What's the one thing that you love about yourself? It can range from anything. And I like to leave it a little open-ended so people can make it what they would like. But again, I've been talking about mental health on there, being an athlete, struggling through injuries. We have a bunch of stuff on there on Spotify and also on YouTube. So if you want to check it out.
And Hailey, when are you going to join her on the podcast?
We've been getting it together. We've been talking about it. So we'll have to find a time where we can do it and talk about, our relationship and the things that we have dealt with being at a distance. So we'll see.
And I want to speak, being the CEO of our RMK Productions, of having you join. Our ultimate goal is to have at least 1 or 2 podcasters to talk about the experience on college, what's cool to do, what college is like, and be part of the 10 United Podcast Network. And I want to thank you for doing your part. Now, I'm going to ask you something, and we had this conversation early on, and it happens no matter, and we're so much in line with our social issues and the prejudice and the bigotry of being a Black male or Black person. And I know in the Black community, being anything other than heterosexual, it is rough. It is rough. And I will be the first person to tell you, whatever your biases are, get over yourself.
Right.
Yep.
Right. Stop treating other people based on your ignorance. And I'm going to keep saying ignorance because I'm calling it what it is. But speaking of ignorance, sometimes things are said to us that you just have to laugh about. What is the dumbest thing someone ever said to you?
So I have 2. One was spoken to both of us in person, and I had to take a step back for a minute and just collect my thoughts before I expressed it. But so one question was, who is the man in the relationship? Who's kind of like the breadwinner, kind of pays for more stuff? The man. Now, Kevin, I'm going to ask you a question. You're married, right?
Yes.
Who's the breadwinner in your? Who's the man in your relationship? Right? Like that
Uncle
is just
Sam.
It's a question. Who is the man?
The whole point of our relationship is that there is no man.
Well,
there's no it's equality. It's
But when did we justify that men were the breadwinners? When did we justify that? And no offense, Kevin, but there are a lot of women that are the breadwinners in a heterosexual relationship.
yeah.
You're
Like,
exactly right. I'm not offended. I'm
no,
the
no,
first
I
man
know
to,
you wouldn't be.
I'm
I
the
know.
first man to say the reason why I wrote
Yeah.
Dating with the Full Deck, because, you know, going through my divorce, you know, I learned a lot. I can't wait to be a kept man. If
Right.
someone wants to go ahead, I'll do dishes, I'll carry out the trash,
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah. Like,
babysit our own children, I'll do all that. I'll shop for you too.
Yep.
but then I'm going to circle back. That's the normal way of doing things. That's the standard that people go back to because they're uncomfortable with it being different.
Right.
And you know, that's one of those things. Another one question that I received recently was, when did you find out you were gay? When did you figure that out? And what my response was, when did you find out you were heterosexual? Was that just predetermined, or was that, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, you know, being gay is a chemical, it's a chemical science thing when you're born. I would not choose this lifestyle if I had to. I would not choose the struggles I've endured. But for somebody to say that to me, it's like I almost made a decision. I made a choice about being gay if I wanted to or not. Oh yeah, maybe I will, maybe I won't. It's just, you know what? I look at it as they're uneducated. If it happens another time after that, then I have an issue with it. But if I am able to educate that person and they're able to see my perspective and come back with a better perspective and more respect towards the situation, I have all the respect in the world. I am happy to talk to anybody who has an indifference or a different opinion. I'm not completely closed off to anything. I'm happy to discuss things with people. I don't want someone that is questioning something to be scared to talk to us, to be scared to talk to one of us and just say, hey, is this all right for me to say? That's what I want to hear. You know, I want questions. I love when people ask us about a relationship.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
And that's part of the reason we're having this conversation, because we do know there are those people that have no idea, that are curious. Those are those people that want to do the right thing, but they're afraid to ask the question because a lot of us are real sensitive. Black people are sensitive to certain words. I hate the N word, but I will talk about it. You know, I shared something with you guys today, and I'm questioning myself if I should actually say it on air, but I'm going to take a risk and say it today. I'm going to say it anyway. Someone asked me, have I ever thought about being white? And I first I shook my head and I'm going, how do I answer this? And then when I came back, I said, no. I said, I love being Black. And I said, plus, I don't want to give up 3 inches.
Exactly. And you know what, Kevin, to go off of that, I know we were talking about this the other day too, is I am sympathetic to you. I will never know what you have endured or went through, but I am sympathetic towards you. You are sympathetic towards us.
Exactly.
We will not know what you know what I mean? So like, you cannot be empathetic with somebody or apathetic with somebody unless you've endured what they have endured.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I will try my best to walk in your shoes, but I will never walk in your shoes. Right. And that is something that, you know, minority individuals respect about each other. And I would wish that most people that are lucky enough to have a very, you know, less challenging life, let's say, would respect with us and say, I respect you. I sympathize with you. I'm here to be your ally, but I cannot empathize with you and I cannot act like that either. Right.
And that was probably the out of all the people I've talked to and I've spoken to a lot doing these interviews or having these conversations, that was probably the most intelligent response that I've gotten in a long time.
I appreciate it.
The Black persons, no one's expecting you to understand my plight.
Right.
As a openly gay person, no one's is responsible for understanding your lifestyle, but they are responsible for respecting you as a human being. And allow you to exist and prosper in this life as individuals. And whatever a person's prejudices are is something they have to deal with in their own personal. I mean,
exactly.
We've gotten to a point that, you know, the cancel culture is running rapid. I'm the first person to say, I'd rather know who you are and where you're coming from than to have you as part of my circle of friends, trusted friends, and be surprised by you. No one wants to be blindsided. Let an opinion Be a comedian. That's the reason why you show up. If you know a comedian's feeling a certain kind of way, don't buy a ticket. Don't go
Right.
with an attitude that says, I'm going to be sensitive. It's not personal. That's
Right.
the person's job to take social situations and find humor in it, because humor is strengthening the heart. If we go
Right.
there with our own biases and whatever, we should park it at home. If you walk by and see someone holding hands that are the same sex or different colors, don't stop and stare. Go look in the mirror and says, what's wrong with me?
Yeah.
Exactly. Just
Yep.
turn right around. Just open
Yep.
up that phone and look at that face, because that
Exactly right.
is the number one thing. And what I say to myself, what I say to other people is just do what you want to do. If you are not discriminating anyone, if you are not putting anybody in a category they should not be in, I have no problem with what you do. Just love one another, do whatever you want to do. We'll hold hands. You enjoy your life. Amazing.
A
But-
lot of it comes down to you don't need to understand the situation. You need to respect the situation.
Right.
True that.
To understand that we're gay and that's not going to change. You need to respect that we're gay and that's not going to change.
I mean, Hailey, actually, I would like to tell them about the story in the bathroom.
oh my God. That was,
Now
Oh,
I'm going to
yeah.
hear what happened in the bathroom.
oh
All
my
right,
God.
everyone, tune
She
in.
came-
Two women are going to talk about what happened in the Okay. This is what this is the question everyone's
This is what everybody. This is what
Here it
everyone
goes.
cares. No, so I'll let Hailey tell it. But
Oh my
from my
gosh.
perspective, we were in Sheets. I was selling at a lacrosse tournament. We were in Sheets. Sheets is
Yeah.
Sheets versus Wawa. But anyway, so I'm waiting for our food. Hailey went to the bathroom and she comes storming out. And I'm gonna leave.
So
it there.
I was in the bathroom. I was in the bathroom for 20 minutes, and not once did she think, I wonder what
I was
Hailey's
about to
doing.
go in the
Wonder
bathroom.
if
but
she's
it's-
all right. No, I wasn't all right because I was stuck talking to this lady, and she comes in with like a pot of coffee. So that should have been my first red flag. Something's not right. She's in the bathroom with a cup of coffee, and she could tell that I was stressed out, and it was a long day. So we started talking about that, and I was like, yeah, my girlfriend, she's selling at a lacrosse tournament. Actually, I didn't say my girlfriend. I just said that we were at a lacrosse tournament, and it escalated into her getting into religion and telling me that I'm gonna meet the right man one day and all this stuff. And I was like, well, like my girlfriend is actually outside. She's waiting for me. And she was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm so sorry to hear that. God loves you anyway. I was like, I know he does. And I
she
need you to
said-
tell me that.
she said, God loves you, whatever. And she said, my girlfriend has a great relationship with God.
And she was
And
like,
we're still
no, she doesn't. I was like, she absolutely does. Just because you don't think that doesn't mean that she doesn't.
Right.
And she just proceeded to tell me that I'm going to find the right man and you never know what's going to happen. And
just-
all that stuff about how there needs to be a man and a woman to reproduce. And I was like, well, I'm actually looking to adopt my children. I don't
Yeah,
really want
just-
to carry. And
Yeah.
she was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm going to pray for you. And I was like,
It is just, that is the perfect example of someone that is ignorant, someone that is, sticking to the normality of their life that they've grown up on. And you can't look at them and just immediately judge them. You also have to say to yourself, what kind of household did they grow up in?
it took everything in me to speak to that woman with respect, just so that she can know that you can't categorize someone who's gay or in the LGBT community as a certain type of way, because I could have very easily just gone off on her and started screaming, having a screaming match in a public bathroom. But instead, I decided to not even feed into her ignorance and to just respond with respect towards her, even though she wasn't giving it towards me.
Right. So becomes a
Yeah.
challenge. And you know what? I'll say something else to that too, is when I talk to people, I stopped saying, what college do you go to? I say, do you go to college? What do you do? What are you doing right now? Instead of saying what college, because not everybody goes to college. Some people go to a technical school. Some people don't even go to college and they just take up another job. And it's become so normalized. And this is just kind of to coincide with being gay. It's become so normalized for people to just say, what school do you go to? Not everybody can afford school right away. Some people are taking a gap year. And it just, I stopped saying that. I've caught myself saying it, and it's not right, because it's something that, a lot of people do struggle with, and that normality of it. And being in a private school, it was very competitive to go to college and very competitive where you're going. And it's very stressful for kids, right? So just to bring it back, with Hailey, where are you, you're going to find a right man and stuff like that. That's just assuming.
Yeah.
It's not right, but that is
Well,
one story.
For now on, when someone asks you about finding the right man, say, I did find the right man. I call I'm going to tell you, for me, when I get stupid questions, I always find humor in the moment, because it's hard for someone to be extra stupid when they're laughing.
Yeah.
Right.
And I just look at it this way. I don't lower myself to hate, and I don't excuse ignorance, and I don't allow it to entertain space between my ears, because, until someone's open for change, they're never going to change. Their reality is always going to be their reality. And we have far too many people trying to impose their reality on us instead of looking at what is actually reality. You're two beautiful human beings. You are happy together. When I wrote my book, Dating with the Full Deck, someone asked me, how does that translate over to same-sex couples? And I said, I have no idea. I said, read the book, come back and tell me, because in my mind, I think everyone deserves the same amount of happiness as a heterosexual person. I think everyone deserves the same level amount of complication of being in a relationship as a heterosexual couple. I believe everyone needs to be subject to the ignorant laws that says your money is not all of her money or his money or whatever the case may be. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy the ride. Come back and tell me. I'll write another book. So that said, we're going to wrap this up, but I have a question I need to ask both of you guys.
Yeah.
Ask this at 99.9% of all my guests. And if you listen to the show, I always ask you your ask. If you can ask for one thing, and that ask could be granted, because we're in a very unique situation here at Talking with Kevin and Son and RMK Production. We don't have 1 million followers, and I'm not looking for them. We don't have thousands of likes. We have 10,000 people that listen to us and over 2,000 that subscribe and follow, and we appreciate that. But our people that hang with us are high quality people. They don't drive by an accident. They stop to help. So I've had 4 people that have gotten their wish granted by someone that had listened to this show. So you guys can pick which one goes first. I'm a Southern boy, so it's always ladies first, and that's why I'm going to. And if you had an ask, what would that be? And you knew it can come true. What would that be? And for those that are listening, pull over and check yourself and to see if you want to be part of these 2 young ladies' dream.
Absolutely. You want me to start?
I'll start.
You got it. Go for it.
So personally, my wish has been the same for years, and it's anytime that I'm given the chance to make a wish, this is always my wish, whether it's 11/11 or blowing out birthday candles, and it's always to just be genuinely happy. That's my only wish. I just want to be genuinely happy. I want to be happy with the people that are around me. I want the people that are around me to be happy, and I just want to be not satisfied, but I want to be comfortable with my life. I want to be able to sit back and for days on days and just be like, I am happy with my life. I'm happy with every aspect of what's going on around me, with work, with everything. I just want to be genuinely happy and not have any burdens that I'm holding onto and any dark clouds that I'm carrying around, because that's definitely something that a lot of people struggle with. And I want to be able to let all of that go and to eventually just have no worries and to just take things as they come.
All right.
And I would say for my ask, something along the lines of that, yes. And also to pay it forward to someone today. If everybody just pays it forward to one person, whether it be in the Starbucks line or at a Wawa and you pay for somebody's drink, you don't know what that person's going through. And to really just give them that gift, maybe will alter their whole view of life. And I do have two asks. This one's a little more broad scheme, and hopefully it'll come true one day, but for just everybody to love everybody equally as they would want their own children to be loved or themselves to be loved.
And I want to say this, tell us about your apparel line. I want people to start wearing this. Give us what the acronym means so people can, connect, because this is the ending of the show.
Sure thing.
You?
5 Alpha Apparel. You can find it at 5alphaapparel.com. Spell out the letter 5 and then Alpha Apparel. 5 Alpha means ambition, leadership, perseverance, hard work, and action. We are always looking for new members in our community, new ambassadors, new athletes. So if you are willing to join our community and be a part of it, we would love to hear from you. We always post on our Instagram, whether you just won the national spelling bee or, you won a national championship, something as small as getting rewarded in class to something as big as winning a state championship.
It's a community.
It's a community, and we want to post your accomplishments. So reach out to us.
All right. And I just want to thank you both for taking time out of your day. I know both of you guys are busy with life. And I will tell you, happiness starts within yourself. No one can make you happy. So one of your wishes have already been granted, because you guys are two very, very beautiful people. And I'm personally grateful to have both of you guys in my space. Every single time I see you, there's just, you're part of a very unique circle in my life. And these are the things that I say that's important. And for those that are listening to this podcast, I'm going to ask you to share, because you never know that this little conversation, and we don't have all the answers, may be able to turn the corner of someone that is questioning who they are, who they want to be, the conversation that needs to be had, and how to handle that conversation, or have access to a resource like the Trevor Project. I hope we have enlightened you and have inspired you and set a foundation for change. If nothing else, we've educated you. If you like what you have heard today and seen, go to RMK Productions Network on our YouTube page and subscribe and follow. There's more to come. We've got a lot. I won't mention the fact that one of the Jacksons are going to be on one of our podcasts, and you can pick between Latoya and and Janet, but one of the Jacksons are coming up. If you like to have your story told, because our podcast is all about people you should know, send your information to info@rmkproductions.org. Our new website is coming this week, so we'll be there. And I just want to say I appreciate not only our listeners, but to the two of you for sharing your story. And if you're struggling with coming out, the easiest way to stop your struggle is just to come out. Okay, those who love you will love you no matter what.
You will find people when you come out as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Yes, you will
And
find
if nothing else, we're your friends. We're your new friends.
Absolutely. We're here as well. Yeah.
Yep, and we're happy. So, as my grandfather would say, says, when you get to a position like Hailey and Carina, that you can help someone else, it is your duty to do so. Reach one, teach one. Adapt this hashtag is find 1,000 reasons to be kind to someone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Kevin McLemore, your host. We'll fade the black. And thank you both for being part of a historic conversation of talking with Kevin and Son.